Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Candy, and with me today is Kent.
Hello.
Courtney.
Hi.
Adam.
Hello.
Matt.
Hi.
And Rob.
What's up, everybody?
So happy to have Matt back this week, and we're missing Ruthie. She's currently working late nights tonight. We were at Universal over the weekend, but that caused her have to work late tonight. So,
terrible. We do miss Ruthie, but if I were to pick somebody to replace her, it would be Matt every time.
Oh. Hey, I'll put that in my self-confident button. Self-confidence bucket. Jesus.
But I hope everybody's having an amazing week so far. We're going to have a podcast here where we talk about what makes you auto-buy a game, which is a topic which was suggested by Courtney.
It seems weird that Courtney suggested this.
She's like, no.
She's just trying to figure out what's going on with her husband. Like, maybe he'll say it on
She's
time.
like, why are you auto-buying every game?
They both made a list. They're gonna go through, check it off, and be like, "That's not a legitimate reason." I'm sorry.
Well, Kent was
It's a
asking,
very small list.
He was like, "What?" He was like, "What was the last game that you absolutely loved?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess it's probably been a while since we played one." And I was like, "This is like the best game ever."
Oh, wow.
I feel like Kent's requirement for it is existence.
No, we'll get into it. I have a long list.
Exactly. Well,
He needs to have rules, and they need to have structure. And if those rules don't have structure, he's out. Anyway.
That's somewhat true.
But yeah, so we have a list of news articles that we're going to talk about as well, which Kent has graciously put together for us. So the first one here is Dungeon Cart.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Well, and Roy, if you know anything about these, or anybody really, if you want to jump in.
I know that I've seen a ton of board game media people like do streams of this and like talk about it, but I actually don't know too much about it besides the fact that it's definitely not like legally distinct Mario Kart at all.
Yeah, right.
It's not yeah. So I looked into it a little bit recently. It's on Kickstarter right now. It's called Dungeon Cart. It's by Brotherwise Games.
Oh, nice.
They publish a lot of, let me think. They publish, like, they have a Boss Monster universe, which has like they're like kind of video game inspired 8-bit art style, and it's like, you play as like a evil bad guy, and you're trying to do all sorts of stuff. There's a tiling version of the game of Boss Monster. There's a 2-player version, and they have a bunch of different games. They do some of the stuff for like Brandon Sanderson's
Oh yeah,
stuff.
that's awesome.
Otherwise, they do a lot of different things. So, but a lot of their games are pretty accessible. I'd say family weight to medium weight. This seems like it's legally distinct from a certain racing game on Nintendo.
But is there Rainbow Road?
Yeah.
There's a Rainbow Road in there for sure.
So, it looked cool because each player is going to get their own cart, which is going to be unique, and they're going to get their own boss, which is going to be unique. So you combine those two things together,
cool.
and you have and I think it's like a snake draft at the beginning of the game where you are going to like get your unique powers, and you have stuff you can do with your character that's special, and you're just racing around, and it looks pretty straightforward. You're really all you're doing on a turn is like you're moving your little player board up different gears, and you're trying to go around different terrain. And all the different terrain affects like how your cart moves, but it looks like it's pretty simple to like understand. And they have nice little acrylic standees, which look pretty good. For being not miniatures and whatnot. And it looks fairly accessible. It says 30 to 60 minutes, ages 10 plus, and it's competitive. You can shoot your friends with power ups and probably not bananas, but all sorts of things. But they're like
Plantains. You can shoot a plantain forward. And there's a tortoise shell, I've heard.
Yeah. And it looks like the boards are pretty customizable. They're all like hex-based spots. You can put them different things together, make your own courses. They have suggested courses, obviously, but it just looks like a lot of fun. I don't know a lot more than that, but I'm not super big on like the graphic design and the art of this game, but I think it looks like it could be a lot of fun. Like it something almost has like a to me, it feels maybe like a little amateurish as far as like that production goes, but I think the gameplay looks like it's pretty interesting and fun.
Oh, that's cool.
But Yeah, that's Dungeon Cart.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
like
not
boss,
an
I like
auto
boss
buy.
monster just fine.
This one's not. Well, this one might be. I don't know. Probably this wouldn't be an auto buy. No. This one I would read the rules first and all that kind of stuff. And I've looked into this one some more.
And
This would not
I
be an
talked him
auto-buy.
out of it.
This
There
is
you go.
definitely a play. I would play this for sure, though. I think our son would love this.
I feel like there's been so many games that have tried to do this a little bit, and it would be really cool to see one succeed in doing it. You know, what's the closest one?
We have
what is the Dodos riding
dinos?
dinos? Yeah,
Yeah,
that one was
so-
that one gave you that feel a lot.
Yes, that one's a fun one. We like that one. But it gives you that kind of take that, but it's
There's Monopoly Gamer, which has literally got the Mario Kart.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that. Yeah, that's
It wasn't really a racing game.
Yeah,
Oh well, there's that.
I've just seen people put those into Downforce.
Yeah, the miniatures are cool. I have 2 copies of it, and I haven't done anything with it. I played it once, and I'm just like, I'm keeping it for the minis. I just wanted the Mario
Yeah.
Kart miniatures.
They look pretty good. They're already pre-painted all that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're
Nice.
solid.
That's
All right,
cool.
so next on the list is
Exoplanet.
yeah. So this one,
Yeah.
the main reason I was interested in this one, or the reason I added it here, is it's designed by Klaus Jürgen Werde or Verde. I don't know how you pronounce that. It's the designer of Carcassonne. So he's a pretty famous designer. Been around for a while, and this is it's kind of a pick up and deliver style game, but it looks fairly light. It says about 45 minutes to play, 2 to 4 players. And there's not that many pick up and deliver style games that are like somewhat popular. I mean, there's a few. I know Zaya's got a big pick up and deliver element, and like you got that in a lot of those sandbox games. This one looks a lot more accessible. But you're on this new planet. You're kind of going out exploring things, getting resources, trying to build a city, kind of competing. I think you're all collectively trying to build a city, but it looks fairly light and somewhat abstract. But it's got nice artwork on the cover. It looks like it's got nice some modular tiles to make up the board. So it looks like it might have some variability there. And it's like an action point based game where you're going to go in and be like, I'm going to move this guy over here and do an action point for that, and then pick up some rocks, and maybe build something, or that kind of system, I think. And it's based on an old game called Mesopotamia from 2005. I have not played that. Has anyone heard of that?
No.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know much about it. It just looked interesting, and with that designer, I definitely would at least give it a look for sure. And it looks very nice. So Exoplanet.
I like pick up and deliver games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last one I played that I bought was oh gosh, I have it and I'm gonna forget the name of it. It's a huge box. It's Pandasaurus, I think.
Wasteland Express delivery service.
Yes.
Yeah, Wasteland Express.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
got one of the best inserts ever made. I haven't played it a lot because it's kind of a lot of stuff to set
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of game, but it was a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed the core mechanics of it.
I remember people enjoying it, but I haven't heard anybody talk about that in a minute. That's crazy.
No, I feel like it just kind of like washed over the year that it came out,
Yeah.
but it was a solid game that looked pretty good. I should actually play it this weekend.
It's a long game. We liked it,
Yeah,
but it
we
was
liked
like
it. It was long.
it was just hard
Yeah,
to get
it's
to the table because it's long.
Yeah, it took at least 2 hours, I think.
And they came out with a campaign deck, like a legacy, almost maybe legacy or maybe not legacy, but they came out with something where it's like you could play it in a sequence, and we kind of wanted to do that, but we never got around to it. That was
Yeah,
a fun one, too.
It's somewhere down here. I'm like staring at my board game shelves because I can picture the big box. And I'm like, where the heck is it? But yeah, I enjoyed that. That was like the last one that came out where I was like, oh, pick up and deliver game. And I did enjoy playing it, but yeah, it was long.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
But that one's got a great theme, and it's got such good presentation and artwork and stuff,
Yeah.
for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, if this played in 40 minutes and had a little bit of that vibe, though, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that style of game. Anything that feels sandboxy. And
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of space, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's that.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say there's also another pick up and deliver game to space theme that just came out on Kickstarter today called Galactic Postman that I was looking
yeah,
at.
I've heard of that as well.
That's a great name. That's just an
Yeah, yeah.
excellent name.
I won't derail too much. I was like, ooh, similarities.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Isn't that Norman Reedus video game that just came out like last year or something like that?
Oh no, that's
yeah.
Stranded.
Yeah, wasn't that basically Galactic Postman, the video game?
I
So
mean,
is it-
maybe.
Is it based off of that?
Look, man, I will say there was one thing in the Kickstarter page that like really caught my interest. But it was basically like you could pick up alien hitchhikers while you were delivering different mail packages, and
nice.
then part of the scoring points at the end of the game were like what the ratings the aliens would give you based on the ride that you gave them. And I was like, oh, cool, so it's Space Uber,
Space Uber and Space DoorDash.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
are packages you have to deliver. There could be food in it, I guess. You know.
Yeah. I just thought it was cute.
The board game's training you for the gig economy. It's just horrifying.
Capitalism's really come full circle.
Lands of the Mosaic. Is that what it is?
Mesozoic.
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 Yeah.
Lands of the Mesozoic. This is a so it's like dinosaur themed game with cards.
There's
Tableau
also
builder.
an alligator in there.
Yeah,
I like
so
that
it's
little guy.
it's the designer. I'm not super familiar. I'm not familiar with the designers. Ander Guinea, maybe. And it's by Worthington Publishing. 1 to 4 players, 20 to 90 minutes. It's on Kickstarter right now. So it's a Tableau builder. The designer was talking about how they love Tableau builders. They love games like Wingspan, Race for the Galaxy. They mentioned a couple others, but anyway, collecting a bunch of cards, doing cool stuff with your cards. This one has very strong Wingspan vibes. I'm not sure if it plays anything like that, but it's got really nice illustrations of your different dinosaurs. You have different areas on your own personal board. You're gonna be putting down your dinosaurs or creatures or whatever you're collecting to be triggering different abilities and doing all sorts of stuff. I don't know how interactive it is, if it's like a standard tableau builder where you're not really doing a whole lot with everybody else or not. He did sound like there was something with the carnivores and an herbivore kind of thing going on where they might eat each other or whatnot. But I just really like to look at the art on this one, and any kind of tableau builder usually is something that gets my attention.
They normally do very well if they're made well,
Right. And this is so Worthington Publishing is like a publisher of a bunch of war games. They've made a lot of war games. This is like a spin-off company that's like I think it's maybe one of the first games from their spin-off company, because I don't think this would fit that well with all these different war games they have, but it's definitely I think it's definitely a tried and true company from my understanding.
Oh, that's cool.
And it just looks neat. So Lands of the Mesozoic.
Nice. This next one, Joyride, Survival of the Fittest. I saw the Dice Tower. We did a live play of it. I didn't actually play the game, but I ran the stream. So therefore, I've seen how it works.
Yeah.
It's like a game racing around, shifting your car up and down gears, going around turns, trying to make it through checkpoints. And the funny thing about this game is that you don't have to do the checkpoints. You have to do them in order, but it doesn't matter. Actually, you don't have to fully do them in order, but you can kind of like go through the checkpoints backwards and you get twisted around. You're like pushing each other's cars in circles and things like that. You can get upgrades when you go through the checkpoints to get like missiles to shoot at each other and stuff. It looked pretty fun. Like guys were having a lot of fun with it.
This has like Wasteland Express delivery service. It has that kind of vibe to me. That like color palette and the kind of post-apocalyptic looking thing, and it's like a Demolition Derby style
Death Race,
and it actually has some vibes of that Boss Monster style game too, where you're really trying to shoot each other, knock each other around, get to the race first. And some of it seemed almost like Robo Rally vibes, where you're trying to you can like build your courses, and it's very customizable. They've got all sorts of stuff in there where it's got there's a 2-player only game version of the game where it's like very specifically tailored for just 2, with the different maps and stuff in there. And this one's from let's see, Rebellion Unplugged is the company who put out what was that game? Sniper Elite, which got a lot of buzz recently.
Super good game.
It was a pretty good game. So this one could be really good too, from what it sounds like. And but it's kind of funny how it kind of fits the same, almost similar type of style game compared to Boss Monster. So
yeah.
One of the Radlands, the art looks way better than Boss Monster.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Boss Monster Racer.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought was funny in this game is they just kept like, you can kind of push the other cars and make them spin around, and they just kept spinning each other out like all over the place. So it has a lot of that bumping into each other, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it seems highly interactive. So
it looks like you get a few maps too, which is always like fresh for something like this, especially if the maps have their own interactions. That would be really neat.
Mm-hmm. I do know you can put down a bunch of tokens and change the maps a little bit too. There's a lot of customizable aspects to this game.
Yeah, that'd be really cool if you had something that were fun and expandable, where you could like have some real wild map types or huge map types. Ooh, put a couple of them together.
I don't know about that. Not sure about
Come
that
on.
one, but
Chaos, Ken. Chaos.
no, I agree with you. I don't know if that's possible for this particular game, but at least not initially. But that is Joyride Survival of the Fastest and Joyride Next Gen, the 2-player version.
So this next one is High Season Grand Hotel Roll and Write.
Yeah, so this one I put in for you, Roy, because I thought you'd really appreciate this one, since you love roll and writes so much.
This is what I get for not doing the news. No, I'm just kidding. I was going to put the new Ashes expansion in here, but no, I'm just kidding. You're good.
Yeah, so I put this one. Grand Hotel Hotel is like one of my favorite games ever, but this is just a roll and write version of the same thing, same designers. There's one extra designer on here, Ryan Hendrickson, who. So this is basically, I'm hoping it's going to be very similar to the original game, but it's faster, easier, because roll and write a lot of times it's a lot less setup. Some of these roll and writes, like that are kind of taking a bigger game and putting them down, they kind of miss the mark. Sometimes they nail it, and it's just like you get such a condensed feeling of the actual full game in a quicker time with more players. This one, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but got high hopes for it. But it's only been announced for coming out in Europe. And it's not going to make it to Essen this year, but later in the fall. But it's 2 to 4 players, 45 to 90 minutes, which seems like a lot for a roll and write. But it's from Lookout Games, which is under Asmodee, so it may be coming over to America here some point. I'm not sure when, but looks like a lot of fun to me.
Nice.
That's
an
insta-buy.
This is an insta-buy.
Insta-buy.
Yeah, this is an insta-buy, yes.
This is one Kent will probably ship.
I'll probably import this from Europe.
Yes.
It's not too expensive.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about the games that we have played, and I guess we will start off with Adam here.
I have like the most obvious game this week. I have Splendor. I am
And now I'm sad Ruthie's not here because she loves Splendor.
I know she loves Marvel Splendor though, which I don't own.
It's so thematic though. Marvel Splendor. It's
Marvel Splendor. It makes it feel like Marvel when you're picking up
instead of picking up gems, you're picking up Infinity Stones and trading those in for heroes. Huh? Yeah.
Historically, a large number of Infinity Stones too.
I know, right?
They weren't hard to find.
It
It
is the definition of a light strategy family weight game where the theme could be anything, and it literally doesn't matter. But it's really popular for a reason. We played it last night. We're hosting Exchange Student, and she's been playing a lot of games with us. So I was like, oh, let's try Splendor. I'm just trying to gauge stuff that she likes. And she beat me handily by by 2 turns. I would have needed 1 additional turn past my additional last turn to get her. So she actually took to it pretty good, which was great. So I think she got that kind of satisfaction of being like, oh. It reminded me that Splendor hits that weird point where like you can tell you're not going to catch somebody, like once they hit when their engine hits and the right colors come out on the board, because you're engine building. I didn't want to really explain Splendor too deeply because I assume anyone listening has played Splendor, but I guess you're drafting a financial resource in the form of a gem to buy more cards that will also have permanent financial resource in the form of a gem on them, as well as victory points. And for the most part, with the exception of a couple little rules, you're just building that engine up. But the cards that come out at each different level will have kind of random resources and random resources required to purchase them. So you can kind of hit that point where it's like, oh, man, she got into green and the rest of us didn't, and we may be in trouble. And it turned out to be the case. She kind of ramped up and ran away from everyone. But it's a fun game. It's really quick and easy to learn. I think I don't even have the rule book anymore. I have no idea where it's at. Doesn't really matter. Played it a million times, and you can kind of put the game on the table and explain somebody how to play it, and then like just do one like fake set of turns, and then just put a couple cards back, and that's it. We're gonna play the whole game like that, and it's over in 35 minutes. It's a fun game. There are other games like it that I think pick over it at this point, for sure. But I don't mind playing it at all. It's a good time.
I've played Marvel Splendor with Ruthie so many times, and I've still never taught her like Sentry. I think it's because I own the Century Spice Road version, and I don't own the Gullum version. It's like if I own the Gullum version, it would hit the table way more. But I got a secondhand copy of the Spice Road version. It's like I just can't. I can't be like, oh, you like Marvel Splendor? How about you play this with Spice Cubes?
You want to be a spice trader in Marrakesh? Come on.
But I love Splendor. It's like I played Century first, then I played Splendor. But I like both games a lot, so they're great.
Yeah, I think I like Century a little bit better than Splendor, and then. I think there's just other stuff out there that's
gives me
kind
a
of
vibe of like stuff like Gizmos and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I
like that weight of game a lot though. Like it's kind of like you can play it in under an hour even with 4 people, and like there's only 3 or 4 things to do, so it just I don't know, makes a really nice teach. It's a good game.
Nice. Now we're with Matt's game.
Oh man, so. We played this a little while ago, but it's played a game called Trio, and it was me, Ken, and Adam played it on Board Game Arena. And there's not a whole lot to Trio. It's just a fairly simple card game. It kind of gives me the same vibe or impression that Scout did, or at least the same feeling when I played it. I was like, "Ooh, this is neat." But the basic premise is everybody has a hand of cards, and there's some cards face down on the table in front of you. And then everybody just collectively plays match game together. And then you just start revealing cards, and if you keep matching, you can keep going. If you get 3 of a kind, you take it in your hand, and then that counts as your score. But if you don't, you flip all the cards back over, and it passes to the next person. And so the goal is just to try to get 3 of a kind. But, oh man, what was this? There was something about it that made it tricky, and I cannot remember it at this time.
So it's like when you're sitting there, you have to ask someone to show their highest card or their lowest card.
That was it.
Or you get to flip over a card in the center. And you can keep going until you have 2 cards that don't match. So the trick is kind of memorizing where stuff is around the table, and also kind of guessing who's got what in their hand. And there's some deduction going on here because there's. Based on the cards are always ordered in your hand from lowest to highest, so you can't move your hand around. So it's a very clever little it's basically just a super basic memory game, but it's very cleverly done. And the trick is you're trying to win. You're going to get 3 sets, or you can also win if you get sets that equal 7. So that's either adding the numbers together to equal 7 or subtracting to equal 7. It's just very simple, very straightforward, but it's very clever. Like it feels very satisfying to get matches and guess where the cards are properly. That was those turns were like, oh, that was great.
It was at the end of our play session, and we on Board Game Arena, Ken was like, let's just try to get this in real quick. It's like super quick, it's fine. And we played it, and I was just like, oh, this scratches like that part of my brain that like Scout scratches, where it's just like it's a super simple card game that it's like. It's not complicated. You can teach to everybody, but it's just got one little twist that makes it interesting enough that you're like, oh yeah, I can see pulling this out and playing it a lot more often.
Yeah,
I love the aesthetic of it. The aesthetic's really cool.
Oh yeah, the art's neat.
Yeah.
Especially just considering it's a card game with numbers.
Yeah,
and cards.
I normally don't like normally I just like shy away from games where it's just like, oh, it's just cards and numbers. It's like, can it be any more boring than that? But like this aesthetic is like, this is kind of like how you should do it. It like seems cool. Like it gives you, I mean, it's not just cards with numbers on it. It's got like avocados with guacamole and like piñatas. I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it's basically a 10-minute game. So it can play so fast. You're good. It's usually a game where you're gonna play a few hands and be like, okay, we're good. But it's like a super filler. It's perfect for like that palate cleanser or whatever. It's really easy, just kind of fun.
Yeah. This is the game you play after you've played the 3-hour-long Great Wall. And you're like, okay, I can relax for a minute. I don't have to count on 10. Sounds good.
This game will make you feel dumb sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, I can remember turning over something and being like, oh, nope, shouldn't have done. Like immediately, you're like, like I knew I was going to do a bad thing, and then you do it, and you're like,
Yeah, I don't know if this is the game that I would want to play with my buddy AJ, but it's given our storied history with Hanabi. But it's definitely a neat little game.
That's awesome. Well, Kent's game.
All right. So I played a game, Courtney and I played a game called Bullet. So there's Bullet Heart, which is I think the base game. There's Bullet Star, which is like another standalone game, and then there's Bullet Orange. So we had basically a Frankenstein pack of all these put together. So we played different pieces of it. But basically, this is thematically it's like what's like a bullet hell video game or something. I'm not super familiar with that category, but it's like a game where you're just trying to. It's like, I know maybe the game, somewhat popular game is Vampire Survivors. Fairly similar newish game.
Or like
you're just
Welcome
being
to the
shot at.
Dungeon or something like that.
Yes, yeah. You're just being shot at from everywhere, and you're trying to basically survive as long as you can. And then it's kind of anime art by Level 99 Games, and you play as a heroine. They're all female characters, and each one you pick is basically just trying to survive, last person standing, and trying to outlast all your opponents. And you're being shot at continuously. So the way this game works, it turns out it's basically just a puzzle game. So you've got a bag. Each person has a bag full of bullets, so they're drawing out of this bag. And if you look at you have a grid in front of you, and the different columns have different colors, and you're basically putting bullets in the different columns. And then each character has special powers, unique abilities, kind of a little bit asymmetrical stuff going on. And you're using those abilities, and you're also using these pattern cards, which are like the pattern cards represent your attacks, kind of. So if you look at the bottom of that, I don't know what screen is on, but the pattern cards might be like using a sword or using a different attack thematically. It's really just basically matching different bullets and different combinations to the different patterns on the cards. But you're using your abilities and actions to kind of manipulate where the bullets are on the screen, and you're trying to clear these bullets off. Because if you get too many bullets, you're going to start taking damage. And the way you lose is when you have 4 damage, you're dead. So whenever you clear bullets successfully, you send those bullets to your opponent. And this is technically done in a real-time mode. So a 3-minute real-time, frantic, adjusting your bullets. It's like, it almost feels like maybe like a high pressure, like a Tetris kind of thing, or like almost like an Escape the Curse of the Temple. Is that kind of like frantic feel. We didn't really play real time because we were so bad at this, but you're supposed to play real time. They don't suggest real time for your first game, and this, like I said, we just started playing this game for the first time, and it could be really, I feel like, really stressful if you play it with a 3-minute timer. But anyway, you're trying to clear these bullets, see how well you do after each round, and eventually someone's going to die because you keep drawing more and more bullets every round. You're adding more stuff to your bag. You're also getting power-ups, which are like special things that you can use one time to like help you clear stuff. I thought it was fun. I like the puzzle aspect of it. It's very much multiplayer solitaire until after that 3-minute round's over, and you look over and you have like 17 new bullets you have to add to your bag because who you're going against is super good at the game. But anyway, it's kind of interesting. It's very different than a lot of games I've played. But if you like kind of puzzle games, maybe it's got maybe some vibes of like a Candy Crush kind of app game where you're kind of lining up stuff and trying to get patterns and all that kind of thing. And if you like asymmetric player powers, there's a lot of content in this game, and it's fairly light, fairly easy to play. It says about 15 minutes to play if you played real time. We probably played in like 40 minutes for our first game, so not too bad. But that is Bullet Heart.
Nice.
So, are you gonna play it real time?
I would like to. I think it'd be fun. But, I don't know if we will. Courtney wasn't a huge fan.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought it was okay, but it was just like, okay, that's fine. I don't necessarily need to play that again.
It was a fun challenge.
She was like, no.
Kit was like, because we finished playing it, and Kit was like, you want to play it again? I was like, I'm good.
Wow.
It just felt different. It was just fun. It almost gave me vibes of Galaxy Trucker in some ways. It's different,
crazy.
but it's like you.
It could be. Well, it could be. I think Galaxy Trucker-ish if you played it real time. Like not necessarily one of the way we played it, but
yeah,
just throwing the patterns out there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It kind of reminds me a bit of like, I don't know if you guys have played like Tetris 99 on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, where it's throwing the pieces at the other players or something.
Yeah, where it's just 99 people head-to-head Tetris, man. It's some hardcore gaming.
Yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah, I think that's a similar feel. Gameplay-wise, maybe a little different, but that's kind of a very similar kind of idea for sure.
Wario's Woods was the first game I think that did that. Do you guys remember that one?
Mm-mm.
I'm older than everybody. Super Nintendo. I mean,
we all played Super Nintendo.
Rob and Ken are right behind me. It's it was a Super Nintendo game, and it was the same thing. Like when you got a certain combo, it would drop that combo on the other player, so you play on the split screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool,
and rather than just move them, you had a little toadstool character. You were like running, and actually have to pick up pick up all the blocks and move them over to another spot on the thing. Super fun game. I wonder if it's on Nintendo Live. I'll have to check.
Maybe.
Oh, that's awesome. Rob's game. Zombies.
Oh yeah.
Oop, 1 minute stall for time. All right, moving on.
Okay, so we are going to go to oh, I'm next. We're going to my
There you
game.
go.
We'll go back to Rob's game.
Perfect.
So my game is Marvel Dagger, which stands for something. Defense Alliance for Global and Galactic Emergency Response.
It rolls right off the tongue.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Good
But yeah, I
The
guess
report I've been waiting for, Roy.
Dagger is right after Shield, I guess. But yeah, so this is a game that feels very much in the vein of something like Eldritch Horror smashed up together with like Marvel Champions and maybe a little bit of Pandemic thrown in there. It's a cooperative game where you're all working together, running around a world map, you're all different heroes. One of the cool things is everybody has a hero, and then there's an aspect. And you smash those together to kind of create the hero that you're playing. But each hero has two sides. So you have like Spider-Man, and then you have Miles Morales Spider-Man. Or you have Captain America or Phoenix Captain America. Or you have like Iron Man or War Machine. And after your character gets knocked out, you'll switch over to the other side. So it kind of has this interesting effect of you can play on either side, which gives you a ton of replayability, but then you can also switch up with different aspects. Like you can have aggression or justice or vigilante, all these different aspects that have slightly different actions. You're basically trying to go through and complete different missions based off of the villain you're facing against. I think the base set comes with like Loki and Thanos and a couple more villains as well. So you have a bunch of replayability for the villains, and then each villain has a whole bunch of minions that you're facing off against, and there's tons of different events that'll pop up. All of that side stuff feels very much like Eldritch Horror, but there's all these different quests all around the map that you have to do. You have basic stats that you're rolling with, your attack stat, I think it's like defiance stat, which is kind of used to kind of like thwart the enemy's schemes. And then you have a tactics stat, which is used more to like upgrade your character and like heal your character and things like that. But you're trying to go around doing these different missions. It's all based off of an action point system. Depending on the number of players, you have different amounts of action points. And the cool thing is your aspect will have a bunch of actions that allow you to like move and attack and rest. But then your hero will have specific actions that they can do as well, which will do a bunch of different things specific that are very thematic with that hero. Like Doctor Strange can teleport around the board and fly and things like that. And Iron Man can do like a unibeam and like blast people away, that sort of stuff. So there's a bunch of different cool things that make you feel like that hero, and it's all very cooperative. One of the things that I noted in the review that we did was that a lot of the actions will be like, hey, you have the leadership aspect. When you pick one of your leadership actions, you can make another player do that action as well. It's like, hey, I'm going to move. You can also move. Hey, I'm going to attack. We can both attack. That sort of thing feels very cooperative. There's a lot of tokens you can give to other players to like boost them up and like weaken enemies and things like that, which add to a lot of the cooperation in the game. I really enjoyed this game. It is not a short game, but it is a very enjoyable game while you're playing it. I had a lot of fun with it, and it just feels like Eldritch Horror smashed with Marvel Champions, with much quicker turns, because you do one action, this is the next player's turn, then they do one action, the next player turn, then they do one action. And if you like Marvel, you like cooperative games, you should definitely check this out. I haven't really heard that many people talking about it, but it was a lot of fun.
Is it as hard as Eldritch Horror?
I don't quite think so. I think there's definitely not nearly as much story as in Eldritch Horror. Like, the story you get in this is just flavor text mostly. It's a lot more about the puzzle of what's on the board and trying to figure out how to work together to solve that puzzle. In Eldritch Horror, you'd flip over cards and like read text and then make a choice and then read some more text and making skill checks the whole time. This one will be much more like, we have to go over here and fight this bad guy off the board, and we have to go over here and fight this bad guy off the board, and working together to figure out how to do that stuff. So it actually has a vibe of did you play the Star Wars Pandemic game?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it has that sort of vibe, as
Okay.
well.
All right, now you've really got me because I'm really enjoying that game.
Yeah.
Damn it, I'm buying this.
I was watching Adam the whole time, like, man, this would be a great segue to our topic because Adam is sitting here holding up the Amazon page right now.
I am literally looking at it.
This is one, like, I don't have my own copy of this, but I would like to have my own copy of this. I don't think it's that cheap of a game, but they have a really nice insert in the box. Like, the stuff is all, like, very tactile and nice. Like, all the characters have these big, like, chunky bases they go on, which different colors for each aspect, and they actually, like, made nice production value, like, better production value than I normally see in Fantasy Flight games, So that's pretty cool.
And more than likely, there's going to be an expansion.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They don't have any Guardians of the Galaxy stuff in there currently. I can see that stuff easily coming to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this will transition after Rob, but you can.
But
for me,
but I do want to say that, like, there's a ton of replayability just in this box with how you can smash up those characters together and choose different villains and different nemesis. Like, there's a ton of replayability there. It's all about doing those missions and minimizing the threat on the board. And the more villains you have on the board, the more the threat goes up. So you're trying to keep all the villains down and trying to knock the mastermind out so he's not making the threat go up so fast. But then the mastermind keeps popping back up, kind of like he does, like the bad guy does in the Pandemic game. If you kill the bad guy off, then they'll pop back on the board, that sort of thing.
Yep.
He doesn't really go off the board. You just kind of like slow him down. But then you're still just trying to focus on completing those missions, and figuring out how to do it together cooperatively is a lot of fun. So yeah, I think I gave this 8.5 or something like that. I really enjoyed Marvel Dagger. It was fun.
oh yeah. Well, you just sold it to me, so.
I'm sorry. It's not a cheap game, so maybe
No,
play.
I mean I'm looking at it right now. Depending on where you get it and how you factor in the shipping, it's $80 or so. So
yeah, it's not cheap, but they
it
do
looks
put
like
a lot
an
of stuff in
$80
the
worth of
box.
stuff in the box kind of thing, though. So.
It's
Yeah,
cheaper than most Kickstarters.
right.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like the fact that it's at retail is pretty nice. Not good. It looks cool. It looks really cool, and I knew it was reviewing pretty decent. And then I was kind of just waiting for Roy to tell me.
I didn't mean to make you lose your money, but this is one of the games that like there's a lot of games that, like, after I do the review or after we do the review, it's really hard to get them back to the table or ever play them again. This is one that, like, with Freelancers, I played it last weekend again, because I loved Freelancers. But, like, this is another one that's like, oh man, like, Kent said he wants to play it at the retreat. Like, that would be a blast to play. I'd love to get this game back out to the table more because it's just fun. So, but yeah, I guess are we good for Rob?
Sorry
Okay.
about that. Yeah, I'm back. Clients don't care what time it is. I had to take that call. But it's all good. It's all good. I played not Marvel. Sorry.
Yes, we got it.
I played Zombicide 2nd Edition with my niece, my nephew, my wife, and my daughters.
That's
I've
awesome.
talked about Marvel Zombicide in the past. But I wanted to try this out with my 10-year-old and
wow.
my niece and my nephew. I thought they would like it. My youngest, she liked it, but her ADD, she was in and out, and she'd play it, and then we played for her, and then we would search and find something cool for her, and then she'd come back and want to play with that thing, and then let somebody else take her turn. Zombicide 2nd Edition is just we played a custom scenario where I put a blue and a green X out there compared to all the other red X's, and we had to go through every area and every room and try to find the blue and the green and then escape. Zombicide is a cooperative board game where you are playing with your team to complete your objective, whether it's rescuing somebody, finding the objective, and escaping. What I like about 2nd Edition is they don't really harp on if your character dies, you become a zombie. It's not like if you're dead, you're out. And so I wanted a game where I could show my niece and my nephew more to board games than just the Monopolies and the Lives and stuff. And my nephew, whenever he comes down, he likes to play with the plastic pieces of the Zombicide guys. And so I was like, well, hey, why don't we actually play the game? And so I made a simple, generic scenario. It was a lot of fun. They had a blast. They want to play it again. And my daughter, she was like, Dad, is this sort of like D&D where we're running around and doing stuff? Because I use a lot of the same minis
Nice.
on Zombicide Black Plague. And so she's like, is this sort of like D&D? And I was like, well, baby, yes and no, but They had a blast. Zombicide is one of those great games if you're introducing people that are new to board games and you want to go not heavy, because it's not a heavy game at all, but it is thematic. It is fun, but it's also 100% co-op. So that's what I love the most about Zombicide. I want Marvel's Zombicide. That's why I keep saying Marvel. And then we're just talking about daggers. So anyway, that's what I love about Zombicide. Is it is a great way to introduce people to play a game where you're not just kicking their butt. And so it's a lot of I want that.
Well, this is the cheap version, but yeah.
No, but I still want it, and I'm kicking myself for not backing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Zombicide had a blast. The kids really loved it, and for parents, that if their kids won't freak out from the crazy looking zombies, this is a great family co-op game. But it sort of is though. Like if your kids are at the age where like they're not going to be scared by the zombies because you're not having to deal with crazy dialogue. The dialogue is between you and your teammates, and you're just going to complete an objective, and everyone gets to work together. So it's a fun, simple game that has an amazing board presence, that plays well, gets a lot of plastic on the board, and it's easy to teach. And that's what I love is like the cheat sheet on the back of the rule book is you get so many turns a turn. That's it, and there's no turn order, so you can go whichever order that you want. It's a lot of fun, and the kids loved it. And my nephew ended up being, and I love him to death, but he ended up being this point whore, and he's not listening, so I can say that. He's not a whore. He's a great young man, but he would go and he would get every objective, and when you flip those over, you get like 5 points.
That's
so
not
he gets
good.
to the red, and
That's terrible.
So he gets to the red. By the time he got to the red, my niece had just gotten to like 20 points, which is it's almost at the orange. She didn't even get into the orange, and he's just running around grabbing stuff.
It's so bad.
Using the car, because on the car mechanic, you can run over zombies and go a couple spaces, and so he's using that to run all over the place, get those objectives. And we're like, Xander, I love you, big guy, but the higher you go in your colors, the more zombies come up. Yeah, I know, but I just want all this stuff. So anyway, we had a fun time. We had a blast. We won, and it was good. And my wife, she likes Zombicide, I think, with more adults. So I don't know if she'd play again with my daughters. But I'd play again with the kids. So it was a good time.
I love that you've been talking about Zombicide for so long, and like the fact that you're actually getting to play it with your family now is really cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, you're finally getting to pull it out and play it with like everybody. It's really cool.
I'm so excited about that because now my daughter, my oldest, she's looking and she's like, hey dad, well, when will I be old enough to try this one, or when could I try this one?
Mm-hmm.
And so now some of those games that I loved several years ago that I haven't gotten rid of because I wanted to play with my family, now in the next few years I can start introducing while I'm still cool before I get ignored by all this other stuff. But right now dad is still cool ish. So it was fun. It was a good time. Zombicide 2nd edition. And if you haven't picked it up, Zombicide also came out with a Marvel edition that I mentioned multiple times. That looks really cool. So you can buy that as well.
I did want to mention real quick a couple of the games that I talked about last time. We played, me and Ruthie played the Robot Quest Arena and the Freelancers with a couple of her friends over the weekend, and those went over really well. And her friends were like buying Robot Quest Arena like as we were walking out the door, basically. So, but yeah, those games are great. So that's kind of what we played over the weekend. Courtney, what's your game?
I don't know. What is my name?
It's Acropolis.
That's right. Okay. So Acropolis is a tile placement game. It's
memorable.
Pretty simple. You're just drafting little tiles, and you're creating a city. And depending on where you place the tiles in retrospect to the other tiles, it scores your points at the end of the game. So it's pretty simple. I love tile laying games. It's one of my favorite mechanisms. So it was a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. Kent wasn't so enamored with it, but I thought it was really fun. It's really pretty simple. Wasn't it nominated for something?
It was nominated for Mensa Select.
Oh wow!
And
or something
else.
And then it won a Dice Tower Award, right, or something for.
Oh yeah, I think it had at least a nomination. I think
I think
so.
But it's a really
really thinky.
simple. But it's like the mechanics of it are very simple. You
very
just pick a
simple,
tile and place it, and that's it. And it plays really really quick. But yeah, I liked it a lot.
It has that
tiling
century
games.
mechanism where you place if you want to get a tile further in the market row, you have to put stuff on it. So
Oh,
it makes
nice.
the tiles more valuable. So you
Yeah.
can I want to get the third tile, but I got to place my point cubes on there essentially. So
And it's got that number 9 effect too, where you can place tiles on top of other tiles, and those tiles end up being worth more points at the end of the game, depending on how high up they are in the level of city. So you kind of want to. It's hard to build on top of stuff. You don't really want to because sometimes you're covering up points by doing that, but you're getting more points because it's going up higher too. So yeah, so that's a pretty simple game. It was fun.
That is awesome. Well, I guess that leads us up to our topic of the week, which we've been teasing this whole time, and that is auto buy games. So, Courtney, you came up with this idea. What is the idea behind the topic of the week here?
I don't know. We were talking about topics to come up with, and this is when I was like, okay, how about this one? We talk about buying games a ton, so I was like, well, what's something that you think of or you see in a game, or looking at Kickstarters that's like, oh, we're definitely going to get this, or okay, maybe we should just wait for some reviews to come out, and maybe we should wait and see to get it or not, or that kind of thing. For me, honestly, the first thing that came to mind was Elizabeth Hargrave. I'm a big fan of hers with Wingspan and stuff. So she's one of my auto buy designers, I think. So that was like my first thing I thought of was what I would definitely buy if it came out.
So if Elizabeth Hargrave comes out with something, auto buy.
Yeah.
All right, Adam's auto buys everything. So what's up, Adam? What's up?
Mine are pretty easy, and nobody here will be surprised by this at all. If it has a big cool map, all right, and it looks really good on the table, I can probably be convinced to buying it, even if I might not play it. But in particular, if it's a big cool map where like it feels like you're going to go to different places, mechanically, which is why Dagger or like Eldritch Horror.
Yeah.
Like Pulsar or Roy's game Last Light, when you have these big maps where you can go to these kind of different places, like there's kind of like this traversal that mechanically and visually is just something that I just love it. And sometimes when it's co-op, it'll really push me over because I know that I'll get my kids and stuff to play because there's not an intimidation factor of like whether they feel like they have to try to beat me at the game. So that's probably my biggest thing. And then, I guess probably the other thing for me is that I guess it's either like tile laying might be the other one for me, or it's kind of like, that's not even the right term though. It's like, it's even more subtle of a mechanic than that. Like, it's kind of like that physical building looking stuff. So sometimes that's what attracts me to a roll in, right, too, is like I like to see the final state of the sheet, right? Mm-hmm. So something like Planet Unknown or the tile laying game that Courtney was just showing, like that stuff, sometimes I'll just impulse buy it. If that looks great, I'm like, that's it. I want it. I want to build that. I want to complete that out in front of me. I want to see it. And that's the stuff that like will really get me to buy. I really love the state of the table, either by the presentation of the game itself or by the thing that you've built at the end. And I know that seems weird because it's like, oh, if the game was totally unenjoyable, would you still buy it? And it's like, I might once to see what it looks like. I bought, what was I'll give you an example of a game that was not very good that I did this with. It was a Fantasy Flight game, and it was like it was a kind of an Eldritch Horror mechanically thing. But they had the serialized, it was like randomized printing of the...
I was about to mention that game, Lands Unknown or whatever it was.
Lands Unknown.
Oh,
I have
got that in my
box
closet.
of that.
Yeah,
it's just the idea of having that big map laid out and like seeing what the state of it is at the end that I find so intriguing that I just have to play the game, and it's not very good. But it went on sale for like $14, and I'm like, I'm going to get 2 copies so I can get 2 different like worlds. Because you can get completely different biomes. You don't even know until you open the box. And there's something about that for me, where you're creating this big tile map. I don't know, man. Like that's it for me. Those are really the auto buys for me. When it really comes down to it.
For me, it's really hard to like auto buy a game like ever. I mean, Marvel Champions, I buy everything automatically, always. But that's not a new game. You know, I'm buying expansions for a game I already like. I'm way more easy to buy an expansion for a game I like that I know is good than to buy a game sight unseen. But Discover Lands Unknown was one that I did that with. And I also did that with like Gear World, like Border Gear World or whatever, but that was based off designers. I was like, Corey Kineska auto buying this, and then this Gear World thing is made by the guys who made Dune and Cosmic Encounter, auto buying this. Both those games were not good. You know, I didn't really like Discover Lands Unknown. It didn't really like. It was okay, it was interesting, but didn't really work super well. And then the other one was just like didn't work super well either. And it's kind of like and that has made me shy even more away from auto buying games. Like I watched, like, way before I did a ton of reviews, I watched a ton of reviews before I'd ever buy stuff. A lot of that might be due to the fact of not having a whole lot of capital to spend on games. But I always have to be very, like, choosy when I pick games. So, man, it's really hard for me to find, like, auto buy something and just be like, done. I'm very much like, I'm a try before buy kind of guy, you know?
Well, you probably know too that you're gonna have access to it. I mean, with
Or
working
now,
with Dice
for
Tower,
sure.
yeah. I mean, yeah, working with Dice Tower, you're gonna probably have access to it at some point if you want to play it too. So I feel like, you know,
Even before that, I would always watch reviews, you know?
Yeah.
I always watched it very closely just because I didn't want to, I couldn't afford to buy a game that was okay, you know? So.
Yeah, Roy and Courtney are similar in that way.
What
You
about
know you're gonna get to try it at some point.
What about you, Matt?
Man, I don't know. I think I have too many things that make stuff an insta buy for me because I do it too much, and I don't play but like 20% of the games that I own. So it's just just continuing to grow a giant pile of cardboard. And if a firefighter ever comes into this room, it's over. My house is going to be condemned. But I mean, I think honestly, like the big thing for me that will always keep me coming back and like looking at a Kickstarter page or like looking at that thing where I'm like, oh, I just need it, is like artwork. It's like, it's something that's like so simple, but it's like I bought a couple of games that I just liked the art of. I didn't read the rules. I don't know what the game plays like. Don't really care. Just thought it looked neat. And then, like, the other thing that I'm a sucker for is, like, anytime you have a board that is a funky shape, not a square, not a rectangle. Circles are fun. Circles are neat. Got something that's a triangle. That's fun. Roy's moving board. Great idea. Want that. But anything that's, like, wonky? Yeah, totally. Anything that's, like, I guess, subverts expectations or is, like, outside of what you would normally think about a board game. I'm just like, ooh, piece of candy. You know. And then there goes $50. But I don't know. I mean, I really don't have a strong pedigree with buying stuff the way you guys do, where you can look through all the rules and suss out what's going to be a good game or a bad game. I don't really know that many designers or publishers or any of that stuff. So it's like, I just look at it and I'm just like, yep, this either feels like me or I've got to think about it for a minute. But it's great doing the podcast because I get to hear you guys go, hey, I'm not going to get it. And I'll go, cool, me either. Yay. Yay. Yay, us. Hooray.
I definitely listen to other people's opinions constantly. Like, are people saying it's good? Oh, people are saying it's good. You know.
Well, see, that's my thing is, like, I never got super into, like, listening to a whole lot of other board game media stuff. So it's like the pool that I pull from is very small. And then it's like some of those people get commissions for talking about a game. And it's like, that's a whole other thing where it's, you know, are they representing that they actually enjoy the game or is it just what they're, you know, paid to do? And so,
There's an interesting thing about like if you follow so much of it, you can see when that like is real or isn't. It's like, okay, cool. People are not talking about that game. It's like the common man. People aren't talking about that game. So, it's kind of that's not really that hot,
And then in 1 week, all of a sudden, 19 TikTok creators just came out with a rules explanation and general overview,
Yeah.
But,
What about you, Rob?
For me, it's an instant buy if it looks
Minis.
good. If
Risk.
If it has
looks
Risk
good,
on the box.
If it has minis, and if it's from a publisher that I like.
if it says Risk,
I don't own all the Risks.
Yet.
I don't know if I want to. There's a ton of different versions of Risk. I think 23 is. I'm not going to say it's
You're
enough,
getting
but
close
I'm
to like museum levels, though. You could almost like start the Risk Museum.
potentially. I mean, I've got a lot of it, but I don't know. To me, it's an instant buy if it looks well and if it's from somebody that I trust. Like for example, like Cool Mini or Not, they have to really fail for me to not want to buy one of their games. Like, I love their stuff. I love how simple it is. They don't make super complex games. They always have great production. So, okay, take my money. And then I'm the type where I don't have the money, but I'm really good at apologizing. And then I'm blessed where the money just ends up appearing somehow. And so it works out. But
And you have a lower back pain all of a sudden. My kidney.
yeah. But no, I'm about presentation. Like, tell me a story with your pictures or with your minis or something. Like, if it looks good, I'll buy it. That's my issue with Kent. I love Kent, and he knows great games. But a lot of the games for him, for example, don't have the presentation for me. Now, when we played Brass Birmingham, that looks so beautiful. It's one of the most it's the prettiest board I think I've ever seen in board games. Yes, I backed Mordred for I went all in on Mordred. Very excited.
It looked
for
really
Mordred.
good. Yeah.
Brass Birmingham, it's a heavy Euro. I freaking love Brass Birmingham. Now, I'm only going to play with Kent, Courtney, and Matt. I might play with like 1 or 2 other people, but Kent will always be with me when I play because he's got to tell me the rules 10 times as we're playing. But it's so pretty. I'll play it and also Kent, another thing I love about Kent is not only does he buy games, but then he gets like the upgraded components so they feel good. So you got like that beer barrel and the bread and the metal and the wood and stuff. Like, I'm a sucker for looks, bro. Like, I'll get to know your personality later, but like, just you can catfish me, I guess. Go ahead and catfish me. As long as you look good, we'll go out on a date. We may not go out on a second date, but we'll go out on a date. And so, I'm all for presentation. And Kent loves great games too. I'm not saying that, but there are games where I like, and he's like, he didn't care for it so much, but I like it strictly because it looks cool. And so that's me. In fact, I just texted, I think it was last week. I texted, here recently has not been good for the Newman household over these like past 6 weeks. There have been several Kickstarters and game founds, and then local games I've been buying off of Facebook Marketplace. Like, for example, I just bought Horus Heresy.
Holy crap!
It looks cool, man. It looks cool. I'm not that familiar with Warhammer, but the board looks cool, and somebody was selling a new in-shrink copy, and I was like, done. I'll take it. And I didn't think the price was terrible. I'm all about presentation. And then it also, and this is a bad part, the glutton in me, I love the board game wall. I like when people come over to my house and they give me that look. I either get 2 looks. Wow, this is really cool. Or, oh my God, you have a problem. I like both of those looks. Because even if I get the you have a problem look, it's still like, wow, I'm impressed by this. But man, you guys must, you're either doing really well, Rob, or you guys make bad financial decisions. And so, and depending on the month, it could be one way or it could be the other way. But I love filling up the wall. I love that my kids are now into it too, so that only makes it worse. Like my wife was mentioning this game the other day, and I was like, all right. I just said all right, and she knew immediately. She was like, get off of Amazon. You're not buying that. We were just talking about this. I said, babe, don't worry about it. It's already taken care of. You know, so. And I
And
know
he said, one click.
Oh, too late.
If she
I
mentions a game,
sneezed.
game
I
doesn't
sneezed.
Yeah. What do you mean? I didn't mean to hit the buy now button. I meant to like add to cart. So anyway, that's me. I know I was kind of rambling. I apologize, but
That's great.
I love it.
So, Kent, what are like the 2 reasons you don't buy a game? No, I'm just
All
kidding.
right. So
Yeah,
first,
the opposite for you.
if it's made of cardboard, I'll buy it. No, I mean I buy a lot of games, that's for sure, but I do try to have reasons. They may not be good reasons, but they're reasons. So I would say initially I would say designers are a big reason why I might buy a game. It's never like a sure thing. There's no designer I'd be like, I'm gonna buy that game for sure.
I agree.
But maybe Jamie Stegmaier. But other than that, and Stonemaier, I'd say Stonemaier games. I'd pretty much
You
buy
buy
every single game.
Stonemaier game.
Yes, I would say
There's
the
auto buy
only-
like even
that's the
before.
only company where I would auto buy any game.
I mean, they have a pretty solid track record.
That's
so
the
that
only
helps.
company. And
And
realistically,
they don't release that many too. So
yeah,
it's not.
they don't. Yeah, you can keep
So-
up with that somewhat. But other than that, I mean, that's the only one I would be a for sure auto buy. Now, there's plenty games I would buy anyway. But like, if I see something with Vince Dutrade art is like such a draw for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's like I just love his art style, and just the games he makes the art for are sometimes amazing, sometimes not so much, but they look so good either way. And then Ian O'Toole, graphic design or art, also is a big one for me. So those are like the two, like Rob was saying, the presentation. Those two, either in combination, which I don't know if there's so many combinations, but either way, those two artists really draw me in. And then a lot of times my auto buys are going to be if a game gets well reviewed from multiple sources. So like I do try to follow a lot of different board game media, and if I keep hearing over and over from different places and different sources that I trust, or at least I know I can relate to like what kind of games they like, and know if I'm on that page too, sometimes that'll be a huge seller for me. So that'll be an auto buy it won't be like it'll be not more of an auto buy like with more information. So that's a big one. Price can sometimes tip me over the edge. Now if there's like a really amazing sale and it's like, oh, I really want to try that game, or like I know it's a game that Court and I are really only going to play 2-player, and it's not going to be a good convention game or whatever, or a game we want to just play here. It's like I really want to play it with Courtney. I really want to play it with my son. I want to play it with somebody. Like I have some person in mind. I'm like, okay, I'm buying that for that reason. So that's a big factor. And then the collector in me also has auto buy stuff. So like I typically still, like you said, I collect Marvel Champion stuff automatically, pretty much whatever comes out. And then like for the most part, I would say Ticket to Ride is consistently purchased, any new version of Ticket to Ride, even though we don't necessarily play them all the time.
We've played most of them.
We play most of them, but like that kind of thing, like if I know it's something I like, I know it's a system I like, pretty much all Ticket to Ride stuff gets purchased. Even now, it's one of the first games we ever played, and I still like it a lot. It's still kind of fun. You can play with most anybody. And then sometimes my auto buys will be if I know the game's going to be hard to get, like a Kickstarter. And I'm like, I really want to play this game. It may not have a production run. Like it's a small publisher. It's kind of an obscure game. That'll be like, oh, I'm just going to buy it because, who knows? So that's probably the main draws there for me for auto buying. But there's so many different factors. But that's just a few.
That's kind of a big list.
Yeah, I know. Well, I have a big collection.
It's
You
so
do.
hard. Like for me to like buy a game now, because every game is sitting there,
Yeah.
it's like I have to like really, really like the game. Like I bought, like went out straight up, just bought that
Champions.
no, well, not just Champions. I did buy that, and it's funny. Like they stopped me at Gen Con and were like, "Hey, we need to send you the new expansion." Well, you know what? They didn't send it to me fast enough, so I just bought it myself.
Yeah.
So that's how much of a Champions junkie I am. I'm like, cool, I'll just buy it myself, even though you guys are trying to send it to me for free. I bought that Beaver Creek game just because like I really like the little stacking of the
great,
beavers.
which is
it was like
also
$20,
hard to find.
So I'm like, I'm gonna buy this Beaver Creek game. But yeah, it's just like whenever I go out of my way to actually buy something, like it's something that I know like I'm gonna get to the table, and it's something that I need to have like fast access to,
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's a similar problem we have. We don't really have any game group or anybody we play. We can't really like rely on somebody local to be like, oh, they buy some games, we'll buy some games.
right, yeah.
It's mainly like if we want to play it, we pretty much have to buy it or wait till we go to a convention, which is twice a year. So it's not, that's kind of the other thing that happens for us. But if you have access to all that stuff, it makes it a little bit easier to not have to buy everything.
Yeah, and I'll say it like in videos or reviews. I'm like, I'm buying this game. That means a lot because I can play it for free whenever I want, but I want my own, So there's that. So it's like I'm considering trying to get a hold of Marvel Dagger, It's like, it's pretty cool, I kind of want freelancers, but that's a game that's kind of like a one-time playthrough. I don't think it has a lot of replay value, so I really want to like just play through the Dice Tower copy, But we'll see. Anyway.
Where can we pick up a copy of Beaver Creek?
Is it not online?
I can't find it anywhere. I've looked all over. I don't know yet.
Dang. I got it at Gen Con. I don't know. I guess maybe it's not fully out yet, or maybe the publisher's too small. I mean, they had a booth at Gen Con. They were selling them there. I think they sold out at Gen Con too, though. So, I mean, I wouldn't say go too crazy trying to get it, but hopefully it becomes available, It's just a silly little game.
It might be on the boat or something.
This show's not good for me, man.
I'm sorry, Rob.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
There's also something about weird dexterity games too. I've backed so many
I love
dexterity
those.
games.
I was gonna
that are
say,
just
Matt,
like,
yeah,
what is this? It's cats trying to cross a phone line? Sure, yeah, absolutely. That seems great. Is it penguins trying to stack on an iceberg? Yeah, absolutely. Come on, bring it. Yeah, I love
I
it.
saw one
Let's
the other day
stack
of a couple playing with a pirate ship that's like on these waves, and it's got like a cannon and stuff on it, and
Yes.
your stuff can roll around, but it can't fall off. I was like, oh my gosh! I looked at Marlo. I was like, hey
Is that
babe, should we
Viking
get this?
Seesaw?
And she was like, oh, that looks fun. And then she said,
Viking
don't buy it
Seesaw is
immediately.
kinda
Oh, that
like
looks
that.
fun. Don't buy it.
Viking Seesaw is like that, but it's like tiny. Viking Seesaw is a
tiny,
lot of fun.
Yeah.
We
I love
we
dexterity games.
speaking of dexterity games, we finally played Ranakir
was fun.
Super Battle for the first time with our
What?
sons,
Oh, with your sons.
the
Yeah,
other
that's
day.
Yeah.
They loved it.
Yes.
It's
It's
so
a
good.
huge success.
I still remember playing that with Matt and Rob, and them just being
Yeah.
like hazing me the whole time and trying to stack stuff.
You remember when we would stand in front of the fan because you guys would turn the fan on, hoping
That would be
not-
AJ. AJ
and
was
we
the
would
one
just,
trolling
like,
us with that
sway
junk.
back and forth, so the fan wouldn't blow the cards over.
Yeah, there is something about those where like I'll play one of those once and I'll be like, I just want to have this, even if I like Spiky Dastards, right? Like
Yeah.
what a stupid game. But man, if somebody gives me a reason to pull that out, I will pull it out and be like, you want to have 8 minutes of discomfort? Let's go.
That's me with Happy Salmon.
I do want to
8 minutes of
retroactively thank
discomfort with
you.
Happy Salmon.
Retroactively thank you guys for hanging out and playing games in my not climate control garage, because that was intense. They gotta have the heat on in
It was
the
good
winter,
times.
heat on in the winter, and fans like crazy in the summer, and we're out there sweating and like freezing to play
But
board
we were
games.
having a blast. Yeah.
We were definitely having
We
a
were even
blast.
doing that prior to the show.
Yeah, so much fun.
I knew Happy Salmon was the game for me, and I busted Roy's son's mouth, and he kept playing. Roy kept playing. Roy didn't even stop. I was like, I got to buy this game. And I went out and I bought 2 copies of it.
He was on his
it's
last
so
card. He
good.
just needed to get it done.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, hey, man, do you want to realize how out of shape you are and yell really loud for 30 seconds? I got a game for you. And we play Happy
Scotty's
Salmon all the
tooth's
time.
been stuck in his bottom gums for 6 years. So
So every time we play that game and I play with somebody new, I'm like, this is how I know this game was good. So I was playing with my friend, and my left hip just clocked his son's head in the face, busted his lip, and his son, and then my friend was like, no, just keep going, Scotty, you're fine.
It's not that bad.
It's so
Just
great.
high-fived him a couple times. It'll work. High five, high five, high five.
And Scotty's just like, Dad, get out of the way, Scotty, high five, high five. Yeah.
I should. We should play Happy Salmon with Ruthie, because I feel like that would be insane. Like, I'm pretty sure she will go crazy.
Yeah, if she's never played it, we definitely should do that.
Yeah, that's
Is that in the
It's
library?
I'm not sure. That seems like the kind of game that Tom would not put in the library just because of how loud it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, definitely
I don't
Century Golem is. If you want, we can play that with Ruthie.
know. Yeah, as long as we like scream high five, high five, high five while playing Century Gold.
Yeah. That was the other thing I was thinking of for the you just mentioned. Yeah.
See, that's
Awesome.
another thing. That's another auto buy for me. Before we get off real quick, I bought Cash and Guns. I'm so glad I bought Cash and Guns. But when we were at my very first Gen Con, that's when they were debuting Cash and Guns. And the whole reason I bought it is because the guy who was doing the demo, he was like, all right, when I say 3, you guys are all going to say like cowabunga and then point your guns. It's not even in the rules. He was just made up his own thing. And so as we're walking by the table, all of a sudden you'd hear these people, cowabunga. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to have this. A game that allows me to yell at people. This is fantastic. And so like I instant bought, and I still love Cash and Guns. We played a couple months ago with some friends who'd never played it before. And guess who died? Me. Always.
Yeah.
Do you still shout cowabunga?
No. Because I play with my wife, and she'll give me a look like I'll shout one time, and then that's it. I'm not.
One of my favorite pictures ever, like from the game group, like back in the day, is just all of us pointing guns at each other and cashing guns. I don't know. It's just such a memorable thing. It's like
I talk about the whole AJ thing. I was like,
Yeah.
and if you want to be a rogue, just randomly pick a card, don't even look at it, and point at me. This is what my buddy AJ did, and it was the most stressful, terrifying version of playing that game ever.
I remember every single time playing, being like, guys, this person's winning. They're like, shut up, Roy. Bah, 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 bah.
I feel like I just have
You just talk? Yeah.
game.
I was like, I just need to learn to keep my mouth shut. Ah, dang it.
Yeah, if you teach the rules in that game, even if you're losing, it doesn't matter. They
You're
feel
gonna get killed.
okay shooting you.
They're shooting you.
It's so good.
It's so fun.
Oh, it's fine. It's been shot before.
Awesome, guys. Well, I guess
Yeah.
we can wrap this thing up. We do want to thank everybody for joining us here. Make sure to check us out everywhere. Check out the audio portion of this podcast as well. And make sure to like and subscribe to our videos. Share Epic Gaming Night with someone that's epic to you, you know? I don't know.
Aw.
Just-
Oh, that
Oh,
was
that's a good. We're going with that.
That was a
I
solid,
like that. I like
that's
that.
a solid riff right there, man. Put that on a t-shirt.
It's probably just
You don't
like
think your
lack of
mom's epic?
sleep.
You're not going to send her a link to this? What's
Exactly.
wrong with you?
If you don't,
Well, you immediately went dark. I was like, oh, this is so sweet.
Yeah.
And
What-
Adam, no.
What does your family really mean to you? Are they epic? My family's epic. They're listening to this episode tonight before they go to bed. They're already in bed. I'm waking them up, and they're coming down here and rewatching it.
they're going to sleep
I love
listen to
my
this because we
family
need our
more than
watch
you.
time to go up.
Adam's just shaking the exchange student in the bedroom. You gotta watch this. We need the views. Come on.
And they're like, why are you waking me up? Aren't you epic?
You're epic to me.
Oh,
Awesome,
man.
everybody. But thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.